Welcome back to a Celtic State of Mind. It's match day. I'm Paul John Dykes, and today I'm joined by Kevin McCluskey, dialing in all the way from Hungary. Kevin, we are here today, of course, to speak about our latest league encounter against Hearts. 1 point they have at the moment. That was on the opening day of the season against Rangers, and they've had 3 defeats on the bounce. The teams are out. How are you feeling?
Feeling pretty confident, Paul. Yeah, really looking forward to this one. Only downside for me is that we've had that international break and we didn't get to bounce straight into this one after the Rangers game. But really looking forward to it, full of confidence. I'm sure we'll go over the team in due course, but obviously the big one's ENGELS in there from the start. Really excited to see what he can do. More excited to see Stephen Naismith's face tripping him at the end of the game because I think this is going to be I'm hoping it's going to be a really long and difficult afternoon for his team.
Yeah, I mean, just for shithousery, I would have probably put Johnny Hayes in our dugout for that moment. But you said we'll be talking about the team. Here is the team in actual fact. And there's loads to discuss here. We'll run through the starting 11, of course, and the bench. We'll have a look at the Hearts side as well. But Schmeichel starts in goals. There's a record riding on this game. Maybe a personal record, but also a record for Celtic as well in relation to his phenomenal start to the campaign. Not just the goalie, of course, the entire defence. And we also have Alistair Johnston. Great to see that his precautionary substitution on international duty was just that. He's back in his starting 11 with Greg Taylor at left back. And Brendan Rodgers, of course, confirmed that they have to get him tied up alongside Alistair Johnston on a better deal ASAP. Carter, Vickers and Scales are the central defensive partnership, done so well this season. You've got the midfield, and that's where the big talking point is, as you've already mentioned, Kev. Callum McGregor. I'm sure many, if not all of you, have seen some of the clips from the latest offering from Celtic TV, which gives you some kind of an insight into the influence of Callum McGregor behind the scenes. The guy is a titan. And Rio Atati, of course, who travelled with Japan. But Paulo Bernardo drops out at the expense of Paulo Bernardo. We have our first start for Arne Engels. And just interestingly, on Friday, we had a right good deep dive with Scott Coyne on the career of our record signing. It was very interesting. He is, of course, Scott, the Belgian football correspondent for the Belgian Football Podcast. And up top, we've got Kuhn, who's had a cracking start to the campaign alongside Maeda and Kyogo. We'll come back to the bench. What do you make of the start 11, and in particular, a first start for Engels?
Yeah, I think it's a great starting 11, isn't it? And we spoke about this the Rangers game, just about that kind of the consistency in team selection that we've got that's followed in from last season, and that was going to be massive for the game a couple of weeks back against them. And it's the same every week. You look at that back line, and just taking it away. Johnson, Carter, Vickers, Scales, Taylor. That's been the back line for the last year, and you've seen from maybe some rocky games at the beginning of last season when they were getting used to each other again, through to now, they're a really kind of solid defensive unit, easily the best in the league. And it's not arrogance or anything to say that. That is the best defence in the league. It's great to have everyone fit. So it gives you that solid foundation. And Schmeichel coming in he's been the upgrade on Joe Hart that we didn't expect, really. After the way Hart finished last season, he's been phenomenal so far this season. So there's huge confidence in that backline every time they go out there.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll see us through games. The midfield, it's just McGregor's been flying so far this season. Well, he's got 3 goals already. Seems to have a new lease of life, which again, did he even need a new lease of life because he was already great last season and the seasons before? But something seems to have happened again, another change in his game and how Rodgers is deploying him out in the pitch. He's got a bit more freedom. He's making the most of it.
Mm-hmm.
Really want to see what Engels can do. Feel sorry for Paulo Bernardo, and again, I'm sure we'll spend more time talking about him and how he's performed this season. But you don't sign a player for 11 or 12 million at a club like Celtic and then stick him on the bench. Engels had to come in, and whoever dropped out, whether it was Bernardo or Hatate, was going to be unfortunate. Didn't deserve to come out the team. but we have to find a place to get ENGELS in there. I'm sure he'll be a great signing for us. And if he has a slow start today, then you've got Paulo Bernardo to come off the bench, who will just slot in and pick it back up. So it's fantastic. And then if you look at that front three, I mean, Kuhn, again, what a start to the season he's had. You expect a goal and an assist every game. Kyogo's got his goals last time out, looking confident again. Maeda's another one. He's stepped up a level this season. You can't help but look at that team and just be full of confidence about every game that they're going into at the moment. And someone in the Acsom chat did just screenshot the bench from that. And you look at that, there's so much strength and depth now that we're back to where we were during Angie's first season, or the second half of his first season. I think when you look to if it's not working for the first 11, we can turn to the bench. We've got quality replacements that can come off there now. Um, you just go to every domestic game fully confident that we'll walk away with the 3 points.
No, you do, and there's no arrogance in that whatsoever, Kevin. I think there's a sense of confidence at the moment because the team have clicked. It's pouring. I was talking around the kind of the loss of form under Ange, which then followed into the Brendan Rodgers era, second time round, of course, and there was a lot of kind of changes with a lot of bodies coming into the side and into the squad, and it took us a while to click last season. And of course, one of the games that will be memorable for all the wrong reasons will be the fixture against Hearts at Celtic Park, where we were just. I remember after the game, the feeling that we had was we're not going to win this league, because there doesn't seem to be a spark here in this side. It's not clicking. We eventually got the team clicking, and now what Brendan Rodgers is doing is, as well as having the momentum, he's able to then tinker and bring in further quality into the side. There's certain areas in that team that I still think, there might be added quality on that bench, but the people that are in the first 11 have to give up their jersey first. The only reason I think Bernardo drops out is that he came back to Glasgow fairly late after his endeavours for the Portuguese under-21 team, which he still captains, and he's maybe only got a 1 day training under his belt, Kev. So you've got that. Almost, it's a luxury for the gaffer now. I mean, it was yourself that made the point when we were talking about this time of the season compared to last, and we were talking about the defence and how much more satisfied we are that we actually know what our best defence is at this moment in time. Because if you rewind 12 months, and it was when we were talking about like the Kilmarnock game in the League Cup, the first game against Rangers, it was chopping and changing, and it wasn't just down to form. Obviously, there was injuries in there as well. You look at that defence and you think, absolutely, that's your best 5 defenders. Your 1 to 5 is your best. But on the bench, you've got Valle, who obviously wants game time. You've got Trusty, we've not seen him in action yet. So you've now got that challenge. You've got the competition for places. If we look at the midfield from last season, for example, if Matt O'Reilly, which he was never injured, but let's say he had to be replaced for any number of reasons, be that fatigue after an international break or maybe suspension. I know it didn't happen very often. Your options would have been Tomoki Iwata, David Turnbull, or Odin Holm at this point of the season, Kev. So when you look at your options now and you think to yourself, adding that wee bit of quality in the transfer window has upped it massively for team selection purposes. And you look at Bernardo's not been dropped. He's done nothing to result in a drop-in because his form's been very, very good. I'm not sure if you had an opportunity to watch Friday's show with Scott. We were speaking about ENGELS and what he can bring to the side. Here's a guy who's just turned 21. He made his international debut, his full international debut at the age of 20. And how difficult is it to break into, let's say, the Scotland squad at the age of 20? Never mind the Belgian squad, which is a lot stronger than what we have at our disposal. And this is a player who started off with Club Brugge, which was another reason for speaking to Scott, because we were talking about the upcoming fixture in the Champions League. And again, what they've got in Belgium, Kevin, is a system whereby their second teams or their academy teams are actually in the pyramid and not languishing in the 5th tier down in the Lowland League. They're basically championship tier, second tier. So he played a lot of games for what they call Club Next, NXT, which earned him a move to Augsburg, and obviously in the Bundesliga, Kev. So he comes to Celtic with loads of game time under his belt, senior games of football, albeit one of them was in the second tier of the Belgian league. He's gone to the Bundesliga in Germany and performed really well there as well. Type of player, he describes himself as a box-to-box. Now, when he said that, I thought back to a conversation we had with Alan Morrison last season. He said, we need athleticism, physicality. We need the type of box-to-box midfielder that we don't have on the books at the moment. It looks though, Kevin, as we actually do have that now, don't we?
Yeah. Not to talk about ENGELS, but to probably talk about the squad in general and this transfer window that we've just had. What we've managed to do, I think, is fill a lot of those gaps that we had in the squad. So one of them being Valley coming in as left back. We need another left back so that Greg Taylor has somebody pushing him, who's going to push him on, or we can replace him from game to game and give him a rest. We've done that. We brought in a defender in Trusty, who's another international player. And actually, just as a side note, if you look at that bench, we've got 6 full internationals in the bench there. 2 under-21s and possibly 3 if McCowan's played for the Scotland under-21s, which I'm not sure. So the strength and depth is Junction 74 just comes in and says it's very, very strong. So yeah, I think what we've done there over that transfer window is plug a lot of the gaps that we needed plugged. We're never going to fill them all, but we've come out a much stronger team. We've got guys like Ida, who I think again can be a really good option in Europe because he offers something different and he's got the physical presence up front that we've lacked. But to get back to Engels, the main point, yeah, what we've lacked in Europe in midfield, because we've got good football players, but what we've lacked is somebody that's that bit more physical, got that athleticism, who can put himself about, and who can do maybe that Stan Petrov type job that we've been missing for years. Because we've probably never had a player that's had the same kind of impact as him in the midfield since it's done in that role. So I think he's going to be a huge signing. And I wouldn't be surprised in midweek if Rio might be the one that drops out and you get Engels and Bernardo alongside Callum McGregor. And then you've got loads of energy in there. Well, there you go, Mark Anthony Smith again. I'm not even reading these comments first. But yeah, we'd have physicality, we'd have athleticism. We still have creativity because McGregor's creative. We know Bernardo can do it. We know Engels has done it elsewhere. He'll do it in a Celtic jersey as well. So there's a lot of just a lot of confidence and optimism now when you look at that team, and we are plugging gaps that have been open for quite a while.
Yeah, I'm going to get over to the comments section. It's match day. We're all excited. It's after an international break as well, which makes it even more so. Tony Cassidy, this is quite an interesting point Tony makes. Paulo will handle being a substitute better than Rio. Well, he asked the question. I do think Rio Hatate takes a lot of stuff to heart. I mean, we were talking last week, Liam Carrigan and I, about the comments after his failure to get the game time within the national squad. And, he's shown a bit of insight saying it's down to ability, and you're thinking to yourself, Rio Hatate, if there's one thing he doesn't lack, it's ability. There's maybe some refinements in his game that are required. But I think you're right. You just got to look at the fact, that when Callum McGregor scores that incredible goal against Rangers, there's a great angle. It's probably the unique TV angle on Celtic TV, and he's running. Who's the guy that's doing the Martin O'Neill jumps, the star jumps on it? And it's Paulo Bernardo. I think Tony makes a good point there. Paul Bosis, I dare anybody before I bring this up not to read it in the voice of Archie McPherson. There you go. What a team on the bench. Yeah, we're going to have a closer look at the bench, Paul. Thanks for tuning in. And Paul Rees also says, feel for Bernardo. And again, imagine having this mentality in a football side where that's the way it's going to be. Everyone must be at least an 8 out of 10 every match to stay starting. There were probably people last season, Paul, I think it's a great point, who were maybe getting a 6 or a 7, but we didn't have the better quality to bring in, Kevin. So if you up that to an 8, it's actually a really good mentality to have. You cannot drop beyond that line, or you've got Valle, you've got Trusty, you've now got Bernardo. And on the wings, you've got options on the wings. You've got Jamesy Forrest, who ended last season brilliantly, started this season brilliantly. And I think that's a great way to view it. If you drop below that standard, below that benchmark, there's somebody on the bench who can step up.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it should be for a club like Celtic. Right. Again, there's no arrogance, there's no big-headedness or anything like that when you say it. But we're undoubtedly the biggest club in the country. So it's our aim to go and win every single game of football that we play and win every trophy that's up for grabs domestically and to have a right go, make a fist of it in Europe. To do that, you can't have players that drop. And we've seen it last season. We did have the tough start, and we can say it's because of the hangover from the end of Ange and Brendan trying to bring his
Yeah,
style in and bring his players in. That's fine. That takes you up to a certain point. There's still that middle third of the season where we were pretty ropey. So there's the game against Hearts in December. There's the one against Kilmarnock, which is maybe January, February,
the one each game.
when the one each game. I remember the two of us being on after that one, and it was really difficult to try and find anything positive to say about the team
Yeah, that was
because
the Burnaby. That was the Burnaby game, wasn't it? Really, where I
yeah,
decided Burnaby's done. You get rid of him.
yeah,
He's not got it.
yeah, and that's the point. I mean, our standards had dropped so much that Burnaby was in there
Mhm.
putting in 4 and 5 out of 10 performances,
Yeah,
and that was enough to keep him in there or to keep him challenging. Club like Celtic, that should never be allowed. You get that game once and once only, and then you're out. The standards should be that high. And we've got it now. So we're seeing it that yeah, we all feel sorry for Paulo Bernardo that he's out because he's been a consistent 8 out of 10 so far this season.
yeah.
Um, and that's that's the level that we should be aiming to be at. And it's great to see it that we're there because I don't want to get too carried away with things going into the next couple of games and going into Europe and whatnot. And maybe the draw that we've got also encourages this. But you now feel that is this the first season in God knows how long that we might not embarrass ourselves at the Champions League level because we're performing so well that I don't see us losing very many games, to be
See,
honest.
see, the big thing, Kev, with that is, and it's been a frustration for many, many years, is you go into the campaigns and you feel underprepared, don't you? And
Yeah,
that's a big thing. If we go into this campaign and we spoke long and hard about the transfer window, and yeah, it wasn't perfect, the way we went about it, but we got the bodies in the building, right? For example, Adam Ida. We've not seen the best of Ida this season because, the way that kind of dragged on affected the player, probably affected his match sharpness. He got a bit of criticism playing for Ireland during the break, etc. So all that side of it wasn't ideal. But when you take the pitch for your first game, are you prepared? Because in previous seasons, the answer to that's been no. For going way back, I'm talking, having to line up during Brendan Rodgers' first time in charge with Owen O'Connell playing at centre half, or the near Beaton thing. It was always
near
near
Beaton
Beaton
every single summer. Near
every
Beaton was your
campaign.
number one centre back.
Yes.
Yeah,
So going in this time round, I feel better prepared now. I really do. And, again, we were talking about this last week. Imagine getting that first win on the board next week in the Champions League. I mean, then all of a sudden, the monkey's off the back. You're galvanising the side. There's a belief system. We're on this platform because we're good enough to be on this platform. And then you might see
exactly.
somebody like Rio Atati having something of a Matt O'Reilly season, for example, this campaign. And if he has that alongside Engels and Bernardo vying for that jersey, alongside McGregor having one of his finest campaigns, anything's possible. I mean, we've spoken about Kuhn, for example. He was an early tip of mine. Sorry to mention it again. An early tip of mine for being a star this season. And he started off brilliantly. He picked up a knock and was dropped to the bench himself at some point. You're looking at the bench, though. We've still got those options, don't we? We've got Forrest. We've got Palmer. And I know the much maligned Palmer. He's still there. He's still vying for a jet. It's probably the only one area that I don't think we've got that same kind of standard of quality if we do need to replace. Is probably on the left-hand side on the wing, Kev.
Yeah,
I'm not just using
yeah,
it as an excuse to have a dig at Palmer here.
yeah. We've got the depth on the left hand side because Forrest can play there, Yang can play there, Palmer can play there, but the quality's not quite the same. And it probably is the one position in the team. But given where we were at the start of the transfer window to where we're at now, I'm okay with there being one area that we didn't
Yeah,
fully manage to get up to speed because we had so many and we managed to tick the majority of the boxes on that. Um, to try and touch on some of your comments there, don't want to get too Ted Lasso about all this, but if we win that first game, it was against Slovan Bratislava during the week, it's the belief that gives you, and you cannot measure what that will do to the team because it is a monkey off the back. It is we belong at this level.
Yeah,
it's 3 points in straight away, which gives us a far better chance of being one of the top 18 teams or whatever it is that goes through to the next round, or the top 24 that gets you a playoff. It immediately puts you in a really good place to do that. And all this team needs is belief, really, at that level, because the quality's there. We showed it last season. Some of the football against Atletico Madrid in the home game was, I think it was James Horncastle said it on one of the TNT Sports, it was the best football that anyone was playing at that stage in the Champions League. We just need to get a result, and then the belief will help that team flourish. We will lose games at that level, but we'll win. As soon as we get one, we'll start to win more. That's all it takes.
Yeah, this is the thing. When you're talking earlier, though, Kev, about Champions League, I honestly think last season, right? Yes, you know, it can be skewed if you look at the away game in Madrid. It can be skewed because they gave us a hammering. But on that night, Maeda, one of our most important performances, particularly at that level from a defensive perspective, right, gets sent off, right? And I'm not saying that was the only reason we would have won the game, but it can skew it. The Feyenoord away game, we got 2 guys sent off. At that level, you're not competing with 9 men. The Lazio game, you're not even a boot lace, because I don't even think there's laces in the boots these days, Kev, from, you know, the aforementioned Louis Palmer scoring that goal and us getting a draw. In fact, we'd have gone ahead against Lazio at that point. And as you say, the very, very good performance against Atletico Madrid at home with a 2-2 game, and of course the victory we finally got. So last season I almost felt like it was the nearly campaign, the campaign that could have been the one. Let's make it this one.
Let's make it this one. Yeah, I think I was hypercritical of us in the last season's Champions League campaign, but on reflection, my criticisms were about the board and the transfer window and that lack of preparedness.
Yeah,
we just weren't ready for the Champions League last season. But if you look at the players and the performance levels, on the whole, they were pretty good. And you can point to all those different moments in almost every game that it was an if buts and maybes campaign. You know, if Maeda doesn't get that touch, Palmer scores, we win that game. If Maeda doesn't get sent off in Madrid, we probably lose the game, but we don't get thumped 6-0. And so we don't have that embarrassing result. We have a close defeat. So many of the things that just didn't go our way. 1 year it's going to change, and let's hope it's this one. But I was going to make a point before, actually. It was one that Tommy Sheridan made on This Is Acsom a few weeks ago when with Simon Weir on, the one I was able to watch filming, which was a great experience. He'd mentioned, stay calm about this transfer window because we've got longer to get players in, or we can leave it to the last minute for the window because we have longer to prepare players after for the first European game. And it kind of made a bit of sense. I wanted players in earlier, we all did. That also makes sense. You get them in, bed them in for longer. But we didn't have to rush anything this time because the first game was not coming right at the start of the season. It's coming 5-6 games into the season. The established first 11 will be ready for it. And anyone that comes in like an ENGELS or a McCowan at the last minute gets 3 games to get up to match speed before Champions League kicks in. So, yeah, we all wanted things to move a bit quicker. But come the end of it, we've come out a lot stronger than we were at the beginning. And that's how a transfer window should end.
Always. And trimmer. We're trimmer as well, Kevin, because we've got a lot.
So much deadwood.
I mean, see, when you look at the bench here, Sinisalo not played yet. I don't actually think we will risk him against Falkirk, believe it or not, because Falkirk are a potential banana skin in that respect, and I'm pretty sure Schmeichel wants to play against his former club as well. Trusty, we've not seen him yet in action, but you look at Trusty on the bench, and it means that Welsh isn't on the bench, and then further down the pecking order, Nawrocki is almost disappearing, in the distance.
Like a forgotten man, almost.
Yeah, Lagerbielke and Kobayashi are gone, of course. You've got Palmer on the wing. You've got Ida, who hasn't got started yet, which is crazy when you think about the impact he made last season and the transfer fee we paid for him. Valle, brilliant bit of business, I think, at this stage. It's one of the ones where let's hope Taylor gets a new deal. Valle, there is a potential for him to get game time this season. We might look at him again on a permanent basis. Or does Brendan Rodgers have something else in mind for someone who may be or become a free agent? Luke McCowan, very, very happy with his introductory press conference. I think he speaks really well. Puts me in mind of a young Callum McGregor. He just talks like Callum McGregor. Paulo Bernardo, we know what he can do. He's been brilliant this season. He's not dropped on form. James Forrest, almost a saviour last campaign. And Tony Ralston, the brickie, who is just ever dependable and low maintenance. So a very, very strong bench, but it does tell you a thing or two about guys like Odin Holm, who are out the picture, Stephen Welsh, Mike Nawrocki, and the aforementioned Yang, also out the picture at the moment as well. So there's a few guys who I would then say are on your kind of third tier level of player. Some of them, if there's business to be done in January, might end up leaving the club. Ian Roy, welcome to the show. You are, I think, dialing in all the way from Florida. Excellent team today, good bench, which shows how good a job Brendan done in the transfer window. He did. 5-0 today, says Ian. That's confident, bold, and I like it. John Sweeney, we should win this easily. But we know about this Hearts team. It's a cup final when they play Celtic every time. Now, of course, Hearts beat us twice, once home, once away. Let's have a wee look at their team and we'll see how they line up for today's game. And I'll remove the comments so that we can see it a little bit better. So Craig Gordon, still playing all these years later. What's the combined ages of the Hearts and the Celtic goalies today? Is it some kind of record? What will it be? 30, 40?
Must be.
What is it going to
80
be?
something, surely.
Oh my word, 80 at least. Kingsley, Halkett, Beningame, Grant, Shankland, El Capitan, Rolls, Boateng, Penrice, Vargas, and Taylor. There's your starting 11. And when you look at them in isolation, Kev, you're looking at that. There's a bit of quality in that team. But I mean, when you speak to Hearts fans or you look at the online kind of atmosphere and mood of Hearts fans, they're very unhappy with the way things are going. And a lot of them are calling for Naismith's head at this moment in time.
Yeah, it's no surprise, really. I mean, it's at 1 point from 4 games and lost the last 5 across all competitions. So, like, if any manager's got that kind of record, then fans start to get irritated and ask questions about his future. I'm not sure he's ever really been fully taken on board as a Hearts manager. I don't know if the fans have always been 100% behind him, and something like this doesn't help. But you look at that team, there is some good players in it. I'm interested to see how Taylor does. I think he's like the right back or right wing back. I was impressed with him in the game, their opening game, when they got their point against some team that wears blue. He was impressive, really strong physical player. Beningame, I like in the midfield. I think he's another good player, kind of an enforcer. And Shanklin's always good for a goal, but CCV up against him, I'd favour him. Scales did not put a foot wrong against Rangers in the last game, and that's almost what we've come to expect from him from now on. So yeah, you can highlight that they've got some good players. There is some obvious threats, but I'll flip it and just go look at our team. We've got more threats, and I think our defensive players are better than their attacking players. So they can be as good as they want, but I'm fairly confident going into this one that we'll be quite happy come the end of it, and we'll not have a post-match show like we did last December.
No, let's not. Celtic, of course, perfect record in the league, played 4-1-4 alongside Aberdeen. Actually, we've got maximum points and we're top of the league on goal difference, having not conceded a single goal. Hearts, on the other hand, are second bottom of the league, and that 1 point they got against Rangers on the opening day is the solitary point they have on the board. That they've lost 3 in a row. Will it be 4 today? And then, of course, you've got the fixtures elsewhere. You've got Aberdeen playing Motherwell. Hibs are playing St Johnstone, with Ross County against Dundee, St Mirren against Kilmarnock, and then tomorrow Dundee United against Rangers. Tannadice, 12 o'clock kickoff. by the end of this round of fixtures, what's that league table going to look like, Kev? Who is going to be second in that league? That's something I'm going to be looking at every single week. We're almost up at kickoff time. I want a wee prediction from you. I've already said all week it's going to be 4-0 Celtic.
Do you know, I'm going to go with that. I usually go with something like 2-1, 3-1 maybe, but I'm very confident today, so let's go with it.
All right, well, let's be more adventurous. Who's getting the first goal then?
ENGELS.
Oh, bold. I'm going to say Alistair Johnston. Don't know what the odds are on that.
Love
First
that.
goal scorer, Johnson, 4-0. Right, let's get stuck in. And join us again at half-time. Thanks, everybody, for getting involved. And thank you to Kev McCluskey for joining me on A Celtic State of Mind.